Elisa, Mariana, Julio, and Emely.
And we are going to talk about ethics.
Based on two cases of cannibalism.
One of the Uruguayan plane crash in the Alps in 1972,
and the second of cannibalism in Sierra Leone in 2022.
In our complex world, ethical considerations can guide our actions as we face constant challenges. So, for example, ethics is a branch of philosophy that explores these notions of right and wrong in our human behavior. It criticizes our choices and behaviors, and it leads us to numerous ethical dilemmas. Recent cases like the one reported in Sierra Leone and the Uruguayan Air Force crash talk about cannibalism and can underscore the complexity of ethics. So anthropophagy is divided into two parts. The first one is a learned and the second one is the survival and cannibalism, and we can have some examples regarding this part. In Sierra Leone, leopard skin tribe resorts to violence, believing consuming tourist skin grants them strength. And in the other hand, in the Andes, survivors of Flight 571 faced survival cannibalism, consuming deceased to endure until the rescue. Both of these two cases highlight complex situations and the nature of ethics and profound moral decision that humanity faces, giving us the lesson that complexity of ethics is limited by the conditions and the context of certain and specific situations.
So, throughout this apologia, we're going to make reference to different philosophers, highlighting Friedrich Nietzsche and Immanuel Kant, and also making reference to the values of respect and responsibility.
Friedrich Nietzsche argues that instincts often override conscious moral principles. These instincts, deeply rooted within individuals, regulate actions more effectively without the need for complex reasoning during moral decisions. Nietzschean ethics challenges traditional concepts of responsibility, especially when victims provide voluntary consent, suggesting they may share responsibility for their own injuries, as suggested by Vera Bergelson. Now, from a consequentialist perspective proposed by Jeffrey Edwards, cannibalism could be morally permissible and necessary in extreme survival situations. Edwards asserts that if an action leads to the best outcome for the greater good, it should be considered morally necessary. In cases like the Uruguayan rugby team's crash in the Alps, cannibalism might be seen as a moral necessity to maximize survival. Contrastingly, Jeremy Wisniewski adds complexity to the discussion, suggesting that cannibalism's morality depends on circumstances and doesn't inherently violate rights, as did Lacton. Now, the importance of consent emerges as a central argument in evaluating the morality of cannibalism. This ethical debate is enriched by considering various philosophical perspectives and acknowledging the significance of specific situations, such as those of the Uruguayan rugby team and its crash in the Alps, and which compel them towards a cannibalistic behavior.
As a matter of fact, we have mentioned that cannibalism can be accepted in cases where the situation is too extreme and said practice is required due to the lack of aliments. However, what happens to our human dignity? According to the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, cannibalism violates human dignity. Kant is known for his comprehensive and systematic work in epistemology, ethics, and aesthetics. Kant emphasizes the treatment of human beings as means in themselves and never merely as means to an end, which is a clear opposition to the idea of using someone else's body as food. Additionally, in his work Metaphysics of Manners, Kant explores the idea of respect for the inherent dignity and integrity of each individual. This respect forbids the use of people at any situation in which their inherent values are degraded. Therefore, his philosophy implies a strong condemnation of any act that treats people as objects or means in order to satisfy basic needs such as hunger. Hence, cannibalism would be morally unaccepted according to this ethical approach.
After having analyzed both sides of the argument, we as a team conclude that in extreme survival situations, such as the one of the Uruguayan plane crash in 1972, where there are no other options and the only one is cannibalism, It may be ethically justifiable due to the need to preserve human life. We as human beings are in a constant search of preserving our human dignity and to honor and respect our body. Our bodies are result as means to satisfy desires. They result as ends in themselves. For said reason, we consider that all bodies deserve a good treat and respect. Nevertheless, when situations such as the ones mentioned are presented, an ethical dilemma comes up. Said dilemma challenges our moral and legal norms, forcing us to consider the complexity of the ethicals of survival and the relativity of moral norms in extraordinary contexts, meaning that it raises difficult questions about human nature, the limits of ethics, and personal sacrifice in the name of survival.